Was always so nervous anyway that I think she had a slight accident and that was the end of her driving. I mean, truly. I mean, anything would upset her. Everything. Anything. She got too nervous. She just never wanted to know about driving again.
You heard her say in the tape that she was kind of her father's daughter. You think that's true? She's quiet. Had a...
Yeah, she was pretty quiet. I mean, we always went out together when I was young, and she took me everywhere. We ate our way through everything. I learned to eat well with her. We went to every place, stopped at everywhere.
So if Aunt Selma was kind of her father's daughter, would you say that you were your mother's daughter? In spite of not wanting to be?
I would think that I was more like my mother in a way. Yeah.
Or maybe you were like your father at first and then you kind of switched over to your
I
mom.
had, a certain sense of humor that my mother had, which I guess you could call dry. I mean, but, it was really funny. I mean, she just said things that didn't make any sense now and then, or she didn't hear it, or something. But she had a good sense of humor. She really did. People always thought, I think, that this is a nut job, a little bit. And I always remember her getting on the bus, and like Uncle Charlie had said, I mean, she would, we would be embarrassed by her or whatever she said. Everybody's on that bus, and she's, hello out there, I mean, she'd sit up from the front, and she'd be shouting at you at the back. But all the drivers knew her. They all knew her. But we walked a lot. We rode bikes. Well, not my mother, but I mean, I remember riding to Passaic from Kearney, which was, 10 miles, and through the traffic and the streets and everything. So I always remember using a bike. I mean, there was a bus right out there on the corner we could have done, but we didn't. And I didn't know what I wanted to do when I finished high school. I really had no idea. I don't think I was exposed to enough to know what I wanted to do.
So why did you go into dental hygiene?
Oh, I heard from somebody. Somebody had told me about it. Sounded okay to me. Nothing, I think I wanted to be like a lab technician, doing something like that, and being a dental hygienist seemed like it was okay. So that's when I went.
And you did that for maybe a couple of years?
Yeah, wonderful. I had a job for a couple of years. Well, I went, I had a job in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I lived in Philadelphia with a roommate of mine, not a roommate, but a classmate. And I would go in on the subway every day, or the bus, and go to and work in not Cherry Hill, forgotten the name of the place, but I would go there, and I worked there for about a year. And that's when my friend came up from Florida and said, would I like to go back with her? I said, sure.
And she lived in Orlando?
No, she lived in Miami. Her mother and she had her grandmother's house, and she lived in the southwest part of Miami. And when I heard about the job in Orlando was when I had to go take my exam, and I went up to Orlando.
You first moved down to Miami, then went up to Orlando to take the test.
Well, no, I went to Miami. but I needed a license, a Florida license. So I went up to, I could use any license that I wanted in civil service. So I went up to Orlando when I met your father. Anyway, I had to take the exam, so when you were born, after you were born, I went up to Jacksonville to take the state board so I could work for, some dentists in Miami. And that's what I did while your father went to school.
Oh, you did? You worked
Yeah.
in Miami?
I worked, I
But
worked
first-
in parts of Miami.
But first you worked in Orlando on the Air Force Base
Yeah.
as a civilian
Dental hygienist in the dental clinic.
and that's where you met Dad.
And that's where I met Dad.
Now, before we get to that part, I'm going to jump ahead way here.
Yeah.
To my high school graduation. I know we're jumping a lot here. What do you remember of my high school graduation? You remember where it was?
It was here. Was it here? It was here, down at the, yeah.
It was Boyd Anderson.
Yeah. Boyd Anderson.
Was it at the school or was it in
No,
the
it was down in, it wasn't in the stadium. It was at the War Memorial. Down on, off of,
Right, okay, I know where that is.
yeah. It was a great, big, huge place. Accommodated a lot of people.
I've never seen any pictures of me from that.
I don't know why we didn't take any pictures, and I'm shut up.
Okay,
What is this?
now say it.
Lights, camera, action.
All right. For the record, who are you and where do you live?
I'm Mark Leving. I live in Merritt Island, Florida.
And what do you do?
My current job is an engineer with Boeing Corporation, electrical engineer that is, on the Delta rocket program. And I do functional test and checkout of the launch vehicle. And we put satellites and spacecraft up for various customers.